Hey, and welcome. This is Wisconsin Shoe Guy. Today we're going to do a shoe review on the Bontoni Quasimodo. Welcome to Wisconsin Shoe Guy. Here we do unboxing videos, we discuss general shoe knowledge, we do worth the price videos as shoe reviews, and we will do shoe battles, comparing shoe to shoe so that you can understand the differences. I also speak to experts in the field. Welcome. This is Wisconsin Shoe Guy. And here we have the Bontoni Quasimodo. It's a very cool shoe. Has a kind of a silent saddle here. It's the same color, so it's hard to see, which is why I call it silent. Beautiful hand sewn split toe, apron, hand sewn welt, and the really cool sole. And that may be machine stitched. You don't always see that through the rubber. You can see the welt line there, where those might have been done. They kind of look like they might even be hand stitched, because if you look at the stitches, they all kind of go at an angle each time. It doesn't seem like that would go from a machine. A machine would probably be a line, but we'll have to see. The welt itself, there's kind of like this welt that's underneath this, so it looks like they tried to do a storm welt, but then they did the Norvegese in front of it. It looks a little different, but when you're far away, it just looks cool. Overall, the shoe, the shoe trees on these, this is a, Bontoni, come with trees. These are super light. It feels like balsa wood. I mean, it's just, these are the lightest trees I own. You can see how they're made. They've got the bevel. They're the well put together. And then the shoes themselves, also pretty light. See the work done there. And then they have the half sock liner. And then below that, just a regular insole. And that insole you could feel on the edges where it's hand welted, which is kind of cool. So all said and done, this is a pretty remarkable shoe. Now, it's not without its questions, right? The welt stitching, the Norvegese, not particularly even. It's clearly made by hand, but for a $1,500 shoe, you do question why it's not a little neater. You really do. For the welt, that's also a little questionable. Why did they put a storm welt in front of a Norvegese stitch? And is that really what it is, or is there just like an extra welt there? It doesn't make a lot of sense. So I think that there's some just overall question that way. And I did get these on sale, but they were not like listed as factory seconds or anything like that. And nor would I expect to see factory seconds of a Bontoni. But it's a, and I got a good deal on them, and they're great shoes. They're comfortable. They fit perfectly. They come in European sizes. So overall, I'm happy with the shoe, but I do just, I have to admit, I shake my head at that welt. The rest of the construction, the leather on the inside, the lining is very soft. Feels really good. They just have the size there, nothing else. Just all said and done, it is a beautiful design. They take a great amount of care in all of this handwork, and then they just leave that stitching. And that stitching is everywhere. You look at the other shoe, and it's just the same. They're not equidistant from each other, and they're just not clean. Now, this is supposed to be a rough outdoor shoe. And if they were boots, they would be good rough outdoor boots. But again, just my question, how would that be? Now, so that's the question. When I get down to the point, are they worth the price? With that stitch, I would say no. Now I got, I don't know, 50-60% off the price. Are they worth that? I would still question it. I think that they're, you know, that is a question. I am going to try one more pair of Bontoni, and I hope that I have a better experience with the quality than what I see here. Although I have to admit, you know, from a wearing perspective and from a, you know, from a street level, none of that stuff is visible. But it does make me question the brand. So I will give it one more try. And if I have that try again, then, you know, Bontoni is not going to be in my book as one of the top brands. It just has to be the way it is. So now, in this section of the review, I'm going to do some comparison of the Bontoni suede to other tier shoes. Now, Bontoni is a tier 1. I said that before, the list price on this is $1,450. So I'm going to compare it to some others. So here is another tier 1. Now this is an Ascot Kaan. Now obviously there's a big difference between suede and hatch grain, but if we put that aside and we look at it from a pure design standpoint, this is a split toe. This has a very different joining mechanism. This joining is taking two pieces of leather and bringing them together, where this is basically, it's not quite a piece of piping, and it is more of a pie crust, but it's not the same type of stitch in the apron or in the toe. This is a skin stitch toe. Beautiful work, beautiful craftsmanship. If you look at it on the sides, this is a very big heel cap, extends beyond the heel like a Dover would. And this is really a blucher cut, but it's all the same piece. There's no different pieces. It's all just stitched in to make it look like it's a blucher piece. Now, this is your typical derby. It has the saddle piece added to it, so that's a very big jump there. And you know, this is a Norwegian stitch, so that's different. The blucher is added on top, so again, really thick piece of leather there. That changes that quite a bit. So the feel of this is pretty different. Just again, from a design standpoint, has a patch on the back where this has a heel cap. Right? This is very asymmetrical, so the outside of the shoe is lower than the inside of the shoe, and it is on the Bontoni as well. So from a comfort perspective, the Bontoni is every bit as comfortable as the Ascot Kaan. Now the Ascot Kaan will cost a little bit less. I think I got a pretty good deal on these. Not as good a deal as I got on the Bontoni, but these were still north of $1,000, and these were less than $1,000. But list price, they're both very, very similar. Close enough, right? So those are tier 1s. Now let's go to a tier 2. And this is an interesting example because it's suede versus suede. The color is different. This is your traditional dark suede. This is also Rapello suede. And this is a Crockett and Jones Hardwick compared to the Bontoni. Now this has a different type of apron still. Okay, so this is the two pieces of leather that are pulled together and raised and then stitched. And this could be, somebody on my channel suggested that this is a machine stitch. And it could be, but let's take a look at it. All right. That could be a machine stitch, or that could be a hand stitch. You know, it's far enough apart that it could be by hand, but it's also clean enough that it may be machine. Right? Let's just assume it is machine. They have this really very clean, very machine looking reverse toe. If we look at the, I mean, this is a rubber sole as well. And as we look here, very, very fine stitching comes through the bottom. This is a totally different type of rubber sole. This is a city sole compared to a commando sole, right? This has a double top line instead of the other piece is still kind of a hole cut, kind of like the Ascot Kaan. Patch on the back. Patch on the back is similar, but obviously this has the saddle piece, which is really cool from a design element. Okay, so a little bit rougher looking of a shoe. Again, asymmetrical, so so different there. So now, let's look at these. Now you can see from the tree, this is a TLB Mallorca. This is a tier 3. This is a TLB Mallorca from the Artista line. This is the 136. Very similar on the apron, but a longer toe versus a shorter toe. The toe is also the same, right? Definitely not hand welted. This is also this is a derby, but it has a cap versus the saddle look. I have contrast laces on it, but the laces would normally blend more. Also has a leather sole. This has a much narrower waist, has a fiddleback waist. On a rubber sole, which is kind of cool. Stitching is also exposed. And again, here you see it like so. The stitching does not go all the way down to the waist. They use a different mechanism for holding that on there. So again, very interesting, very different, also asymmetrical. All right. When you look at the shoe from this perspective, you have a very good refined last. Kind of holds it all together. Definitely something you can dress up. This has also a very good refined last. Different and decidedly more casual, mostly because of the sole and the welt. Okay. And that saddle as well. So now what we're going to do is we're going to finally compare it to a much less expensive shoe. This is a tier 1. Now this is a tier 1 that happens to be hand welted. So this is a Meermin. And you can see, now this is a chain stitch, so the stitch is different. But think about how clean this stitching is comparatively. They also have heel caps on these. This is in Utah calf. It has the more complicated apron, very similar on this one to the Ascot Kaan. Overall, it's more similar to the Kaan in design than it is to this. Now they're both hand welted. They're both a type of Norvegese stitching. This has a flat welt underneath it. It also has fudging along the edge. And this I put a leather sole on. This was an MTO, so I was able to choose. Now, again, I'm not here to say that this shoe, which, you know, normally these are $200 because I had a lot of custom work done on this. This is, and the hand welting. This is closer to $500 versus $1,500. They're not the same. And this shoe is more comfortable, okay? Has a better feel to it, but it's pretty darn close. And I think this really illustrates the value of Meermin and being able to do it. But again, the design element of the Bontoni really does separate it apart. Nobody touches the saddle and split toe on the same shoe. They call it the Quasimodo, and I think of Quasimodo as I think of this shoe, and I think of you know, just kind of stories around it and the uniqueness of that combination of design. Now, craftsmanship, very good everywhere on the shoe except for the welt, and that's just a little bit messy, right, for lack of a better term. So in any case, those are my thoughts Not worth the list price, but I can see if this was in smooth leather and had leather soles and the welt was clean, I might feel differently about it. So sorry about leaving that out of focus for a moment there. Give you a second to see it. Thank you all for watching. Please let me know your thoughts.